Hello and welcome to another episode of Codo Cinema, the podcast show where I talk about movies. I'm your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Codo, aka Codo Man. Since we are a couple months into 2023, let's talk about another movie that came out in, let's just say, 2022. What film I should talk about? How about the most recent film from 2022 in animation? And that film would be one of the films to close off 2022. So, what film would it be? Well, how about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish? Well, if you thought Shrek was over after Shrek 4, or even after the Puss in Boots film that came out in 2011, well, think again, because DreamWorks has been debating about a possible fifth Shrek film and a possible Puss in Boots sequel, and thankfully that came true, although that took a long time to follow. But anyway, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is a 2022 American computer animated adventure film produced by DreamWorks Animation while being distributed by Universal Pictures. The sequel is a spin-off to the first Puss in Boots film that came out in 2011 and the sixth overall installment of the Shrek franchise, with the film being directed by Joe Crawford. The film, once again, stars Antonio Banderas as the title character, Puss in Boots, who pairs up with Kitty Softpaws, being played by Salma Hayek, and as they are joined by other actors such as Harvey Guillén, Florence Pugh, Olivia Colman, Ray Winstone, Samson Kayo, John Mulaney, Wagner Moura, Davine Joy Randolph, and Anthony Mandis, who voiced new characters introduced in the film. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is set after the events of Shrek Forever After, with the film following the adventures of Puss in Boots as he journeys to find the mystical last wish for the wishing star by teaming up with Kitty Softpaws, including a dog named Perrito, to restore the first 8 of his 9 lives by wishing on the mystical last wishing star. They also had to race against Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and of course Big Jack Horner, who all desire the star. Plus, Puss in Boots also must avoid a mysterious hooded wolf who plots to kill him. So basically, that is basically the plot of the film. I will also break down the film as well. So, big spoilers ahead, folks. For those of you who have not seen Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, big spoilers ahead. So, anyway, before I break down the film, I just want to give in my background on the Shrek franchise, including Puss in Boots. Now, I grew up watching the very first Shrek film. I saw the first film on video cassettes when I was very little. I believe I was in kindergarten at the time when I first saw the first Shrek film. That film came out in 2001, to which I was a little kid, little baby boy, 3 years old. But it wasn't until I got into elementary school when I watched Shrek for the very first time. Now for the other films, I saw Shreks 2 through 4 in theaters, and those were fun films. I loved those films. They were a lot of fun to watch and entertaining as well. I know Shreks 3 and 4 weren't as critically acclaimed as the first 2 Shrek films, but they were fun. Those films were were fun and entertaining films to watch, including the Puss in Boots spin-off. The Puss in Boots spin-off, I mean, I wasn't really expecting, but sometimes you gotta sometimes a side character does have a story that needs to be told, and Puss in Boots is one of them, because Puss in Boots is also a it is one of those popular fairy tales too, which Puss in Boots had his own story as well, which is basically in a fairy tale book, while also being while also serving as the inspiration for the very first Puss in Boots film that came out in 2011. And also, as a side note, the very first Shrek film won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature Film, and Best Animated Feature Film was not a thing at the time. It became a thing in 2002 when the Academy Awards decided to put in a Best Animated Feature category for animated films that came out, because there are definitely some animated films that were very good, and it definitely deserves the recognition it deserves. And in 2002, there were 3 animated films that were nominated for Best Animated Feature Film, which was Shrek, Monsters Inc., and Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. But the film that won it was Shrek. Shrek became the first animated feature film to win Best Animated Feature, while also marking it as the first ever DreamWorks animated film to win the Oscar. And that is a milestone right there. That's a milestone right there. Or should I say, history be written. Like, Shrek became the first animated feature film to win Best Animated Feature Film at the Oscars. So that is definitely something to talk about. Now, years later, we got a Puss in Boots sequel, and the sequel takes place after the events of Shrek Forever After, while also serving as a sequel to the very first Puss in Boots film. So anyway, and just to let you know, this film, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, was in development for a while. It was brought up sometime in the early 2010s, particularly in November of 2012, where Guillermo del Toro, who was the executive producer on the first film, shared with director Chris Miller his intentions to take the character of Puss in Boots on an adventure to a very exotic location. And there were a couple of drafts for the screenplay that were actually brought up, and one of the screenplays had a title which is basically Puss in Boots 2, 9 Lives, and 40 Thieves. Now that sounds like an interesting title. Now, 9 Lives, it's pretty obvious because a cat has 9 lives, because Puss in Boots, who's a cat, has 9 lives. And the 40 Thieves part, I don't know where the 40 Thieves came from, but I don't know where that came from, but I got a feeling it had to do something with Puss in Boots going up against 40 Thieves. So that was probably something. But until then, the script went through multiple rewrites for a while also DreamWorks was going through a reconstruction of their own studio at that time. And there was also rumors that Shrek could possibly appear in a Puss in Boots sequel. Now it wasn't until November of 2018 where Chris Meledandri, who is the founder and CEO of Illuminations, very well known for the Despicable Me films, he was brought on board as executive producer for both Shrek 5 and Puss in Boots. Now just to throw this out there as well, Shrek 5 was also rumored to start production, but that film is still in development. They've been talking, the filmmakers and producers have been talking about Shrek 5. They're saying, we're going to get this film started. Oh wait, no, the film is still on hold. So will we ever get a Shrek 5? We don't know. I mean, there could be a possibility of that. But I will get to more about Shrek 5 at the end of this episode, because there is a scene at the very end of the film where Puss in Boots goes on another adventure, and I will get to that once I finish this breakdown of the film. Now, going back to the background of the film, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Joe Crawford was brought on board to direct the Puss in Boots sequel, having to direct another DreamWorks film before that, The Croods: A New Age. Although Joel Crawford wasn't the original director, it was Bob Persichetti who was set to direct the film, who is very well known for directing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which has a beautiful animation, a comic book like animation for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was a very amazing film, by the way. Now, now the animation for Puss in Boots, the animation that was actually used in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, very similar to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and of course, the writing for this film, the writing also took inspirations from other films, more particularly spaghetti western films, due to how those films managed to balance between different tones, particularly the good, the bad, the ugly, which was cited as a particular influence on the film's plot. Plus, inspiration was also drawn from other fairy tales such as the Brothers Grimm, because the Brothers Grimm were very well known for writing fairy tales in a much more dark way. Although they were cautionary tales that took you somewhere dark to make you appreciate the light. And yeah, they're basically so. Now, despite the film going through a long production, it was well worth the wait, because Puss in Boots: The Last Wish became a huge success, and it really was, because not only the visual style of the film was great, which resembles storybook illustrations, while also taking a good style, particularly with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and the other DreamWorks film, The Bad Guys. It really does serve as a critically and commercial film that is very successful. The film grossed over $394 million on a budget of $90 million. Now that is definitely something right there. Plus, is nominated for Best Animated Feature Film at the Academy Awards and the Golden Globes. Now, I don't know if that film is going to win, but we'll definitely have to see. Now, with that out of the way, let's break down the film. So, anyway, as I mentioned, huge spoilers ahead. So, spoiler alert for those who have not seen the film. Okay, let's get into it. So, after the events of the first Puss in Boots film, while also following along with the events of Shrek Forever After, Puss in Boots, voiced by Antonio Banderas, hosts a party in the governor's mansion when he awakens an earthen giant who attacks them. And this earthen giant has a bit of a hearing problem too, because it got me to think about Beowulf a bit. Because for those of you who have seen Beowulf, will probably know what I'm talking about. But for those who have not, it's a motion capture animated film directed by Robert Zemeckis, and there was like a scene where it featured a giant character who has a hearing problem too, who has problems with hearing sensitivity. So that kind of got me connected to it. So that's like a little bit of an Easter egg. Although some may say it may be like a God of War thing, so I kind of get that as well. But moving forward, Puss in Boots manages to subdue the giant by giving him how do I say this? A Spanish splinter. Yep, Puss in Boots subdues the giant by giving him a Spanish splinter. By the way, remember that the Spanish splinter comes back later. And of course, Puss in Boots uses a giant bell to subdue the giant as well. And of course, once Puss in Boots was done defeating the giant, he shows off to the crowd, asks and says, "Let's do one more song," saying, "The legend will never die." But somehow Puss in Boots dies. Puss in Boots dies by getting crushed by a giant bell. So then he wakes up at a doctor's office, and he is informed by a doctor that he only has one life left. Puss in Boots doesn't believe this at first, but the doctor asks, "How many times have you died?" And of course, there's flashbacks of Puss in Boots dying 8 times. The first one, he gets gored by a bunch of bulls during the running of the bulls. He gets mauled by several dogs at a poker game. He falls to his death on a very tall building while being wasted on milk. And I do love this part when he's drunk. A cat always lands on his feet. What? He falls like hundreds or thousands of feet from that building and dies. But all we see is his milk mug being shattered. And then of course, we also see Puss in Boots trying to bench press with big muscles. That got a chuckle out of me. But somehow the weight lands on top of Puss in Boots. He also suffocates from a shellfish allergy, which he didn't care because he asked the waiter, "Excuse me, does this have shellfish in it?" And the waiter was like, "Yes." Puss in Boots was like, "Meh." He continues to eat it and dies. And then he blows himself up during a cannonball test, gets burned alive while baking gingerbread cookies in front of the gingerbread man. By the way, Gingy has a cameo in this film, basically baking gingerbread cookies with the gingerbread man, Gingy. And then, of course, you got the bell falling on top of Puss in Boots. So then Puss in Boots is like, "Whoa, what was that? Like 4?" And then the doctor's like, 8. That was 8. Well, remember I said, cats have 9 lives. Puss in Boots wasted 8 of his lives already. And now he has 1 life left. So the doctor wants Puss in Boots to retire immediately. However, Puss in Boots doesn't because, you know why? Because he is Puss in Boots. So at one point, Puss in Boots brushes it off by taking a fishbowl treat. He takes a whole bowl, by the way, and then decides to go to the bar. But the doctor warns him that, like, if the doctor, well, actually, he doesn't warn him. He tells Puss in Boots to go and retire and go see a cat lady named Mama Luna. Although, like I said, Puss in Boots is Puss in Boots. He wants to reserve that one. He wants to reserve for himself, but also you need to know, like, this is his last life, so Puss in Boots really needs to be careful with that. That's what the doctor is trying to say. If you don't want to waste your last life, you need to retire and go see this Mama Luna character, because we later find out that Mama Luna is a cat lady, which kind of makes sense. But we'll get to that pretty soon. So later on, Puss in Boots goes to a bar or a saloon and drinks. And during closing time, Puss in Boots meets a white wolf dressed in a black hood having a drink. The wolf, being voiced by Wagner Moura, asks for an autograph to have Puss's name signature on the wanted poster. And this wanted poster is basically wanted so and so, dead or alive, for something money. So basically, at one point, you think that you see this wolf as a bounty hunter, which at one point I fell for that. I felt that this bounty hunter this wolf is an actual bounty hunter. But I learned later on down the line, and I will get to this soon, that he is more than that. So Puss in Boots sees the wolf pointing at the poster and just points it at the dead spot. He wants Puss in Boots' name right next to dead. Can I get your autograph? I want it right here. He points it at the dead, and then Puss in Boots laughs. It's like, Puss in Boots laughs in the face of death. I mean, remember that comes back later, by the way. So then Puss in Boots challenges the wolf to a match. So he points out his sword and says, "Fear me if you dare!" But his sword gets knocked out of his hand by the wolf, who has these sickles. Like, those weird knives, those weird curved knives? Those are basically huge. Those are like huge sickles that he has. And boy, those are like deadly weapons right there. And Puss tries to fight. Puss tries to fight the wolf, but the wolf is just tooling with him. He's like slow, fast, sloppy. It's just like he knows Puss is no match for this guy. And then the wolf grabs Puss and Boots and says, "You're not living up to the legend." Anyway, the wolf barely cuts Puss in Boots' head. There's a close-up shot where the blade of the sickle slices his forehead, and then in a split second, there is blood. There is blood sliding down on his forehead. Puss in Boots is surprised. He sees the blood, and then the wolf was like, "What's the matter? Lies flashing before your eyes?" Puss is scared now. He is scared of this wolf because he has never met a match just like the wolf. He's never met a match before like the wolf. Now, you can definitely argue that he has faced his fair share of bad guys before. You could definitely say that. But in my opinion, a match going up against the wolf, who is basically a skillful fighter and bounty hunter, like, you can make the argument that Puss in Boots was no match for this guy, for this bounty hunter at one point. And then we get flashbacks of Puss's memories, basically from the first film where he gets his boots from the first time from his like adopted mother. We even get to see Puss dancing with Kitty Softpaws as a flashback, and of course, a blink and you miss a cameo from Shrek and Donkey, which is obviously, I'm pretty sure, obviously many people will probably see that the cameo right away in a flashback. You definitely see it right away, but it does go by pretty quick because Puss in Boots' heart is beating and pounding like crazy. Puss is scared, and he is so scared he runs away. He runs away to Mama Luna because he knows that he's going to lose his last life to a wolf. You know that's gonna go down that's gonna go down crazy right there. Of course, Puss in Boots remembers the doctor's orders. He must retire immediately. Go live with Mama Luna. To which he does. By the way, he leaves his sword behind at the bar, which means the wolf takes his sword. And of course, we do get a somewhat funny moments, sad and funny moments from Puss in Boots, where he builds his own grave to put his uniform in the grave, does a little speech, and then, surrenders himself to Mama Luna, because Mama Luna is the cat owner, and she brings Puss in Boots in and introduces him to all the other cats and renames Puss in Boots Pickles. Which is, to be fair, let's just say it's pretty cute and funny. Also, you probably may or may not notice, you do see cats with mittens on their paws, and I did not catch this, but it does give out an Easter egg of the whole nursery rhyme, three little kittens who lost their mittens. They're gonna eat pies. Although see pies, you see kittens with mittens. So that's kind of like a little Easter egg to the nursery rhyme a little bit. So if you know what I'm saying. So basically Puss introduces himself. Well, let's just say he's Pickles now. He says, meow. And then all the cats start hissing at him. And then there's one cat that goes, oh. So basically that cat that goes, oh, that cat's from the very first Puss in Boots film. I'm actually glad they brought him back, because that's a nice callback to the first Puss in Boots film. A little bit of continuity in there. And then Puss in Boots is like, what? What did I say? So then Puss in Boots endures his retirement at one point. Although he does try to be more like the legend that he is. He tries to make his own food. But Mama Luna wants him to have the food, the cat food, where that is being placed. And then of course he tries to go to the bathroom like a legend, but no, cats have this kitty litter that you go to the bathroom you could go to the bathroom for. So yeah. So and then Puss in Boots is he gets depressed. Puss in Boots goes into a depression and grows a beard. And yeah, the beard part is pretty funny as well. And then Puss in Boots is basically depressed, and he feels down on himself because he has one life left, and he doesn't want to waste his last life. And of course, he meets a dog named Perrito. Perrito the dog. And I will say this, Perrito is probably one of my Burrito is probably, I wouldn't say he's one of my favorite characters, but he's definitely one of the funniest characters in this film. And it's just so cute and it's just so cute and funny. Like Burrito is probably one of the few good characters in this film. And Burrito is a friendly and naive therapy dog who started out as one of Mama Luna's pet cats because he disguised himself as a cat. So Burrito tries to start a conversation with him. Puss in Boots just neglects it. And of course, at one moment, they were having multiple conversations at one point. And just to let everybody know, this film was PG. So just to let you know, this film is PG, and they do drop a few swear words in it. And Puss in Boots just lets out a swear word in this scene. He talks to Burrito at one point, and then Puss in Boots is like, "What the hell are you talking about?" The way how he said it, the way how he said hell, it's never built up. They never build it up. He just drops it because Perrito asks a question to Puss in Boots, and Puss in Boots is like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And Puss in Boots doesn't understand because he is depressed right now because he is no longer the legend that he is. So later on, there is a crime family, which is basically Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Goldilocks is being voiced by Florence Pugh, who you may remember her playing. You may remember her from Black Widow. She's basically Black Widow's sister in the Black Widow film, and of course Hawkeye as well. Which is actually a pretty nice casting choice because Florence Pugh was one of the Florence Pugh does a very good job voicing Goldilocks, and at one point I didn't recognize her, but then when I heard it was Florence Pugh, I was like, oh Jiminy, she's definitely got some roles coming off. She's definitely got some good roles coming up, and she's definitely a pretty good. I will say this: she is a pretty good voice actress, in my opinion, voicing Goldilocks. So I guess that's a plus. And she's with the Three Bears. So basically, it's a crime family. Mama Bear is being voiced by Olivia Colman. Papa Bear being voiced by Ray Winstone, and of course, Baby Bear is being voiced by Samson Kayo. And they're basically on the hunt for Puss in Boots as well because they're looking for a bounty on Puss in Boots. So you got the wolf and Goldilocks and the Three Bears going after Puss in Boots. So yeah, and then of course we jump back to Mama Luna's place, and Goldilocks and the Three Bears break down the door. Puss in Boots. The Three Bears threaten Mama Luna for the cats to attack, while Papa Bear plays piano with Mama Luna inside, which is actually pretty funny, a bear playing piano. So after the fight, Goldilocks and the Three Bears find Puss's grave. They inadvertently reveal and then at one point, here's the thing. At one point, they thought they almost got Puss in Boots, but the only difference was the beard and the gloves. And Goldilocks sees Puss in Boots with that beard and gloves, and it's like, are you kidding me? Does that cat really look like Puss in Boots? I mean, it is Puss in Boots, but I gotta say that was a clever disguise, and I'm actually glad Puss in Boots kept the beard for a while. So then Goldilocks and the Three Bears inadvertently reveal the existence of a wishing star to Puss and that map. And then they're on the hunt for a map. So basically, this gives Puss in Boots an idea to wish upon that star, to wish for his lives back. But of course, where is that map? Where's that map now? Well, it turns out that map is at a pie factory and is in the hands of another fairy tale character, or should I say, character from Nursing Rhyme, and his name is Jack Horner. Jack Horner is being voiced by John Mulaney. Now, Jack Horner is a pastry chef of Horner Pies, which is basically like the company or factory that he's working at. But it turns out that he is also a crime lord. So we have two crime lords and a bounty hunter. So that's basically oh shoot, that's a lot of villains. That is a lot of villains. And just to go off topic for a second, you have a bounty hunter wolf, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and Big Jack Horner. So it sounds like Logan to me. For those of you who have seen Logan, there are a lot of villains who want to go after Wolverine and Logan's daughter, X-23, because somehow Logan's daughter was part of this experiment with other childlike mutants, and all the villains are going after Logan and X-23, including Charles Xavier. That's basically that reminds me of that film, because Puss in Boots, despite being a PG film, it does borrow some elements from the third Wolverine film, which is basically Logan, Wolverine with Hugh Jackman, if you know what I'm saying, even though that film, Logan, is rated R, so so yeah, but I'm actually surprised I'm kind of getting that little bit of connection right there. So anyway, Jack Horner wants the map for the Wishing Star, and he hires two of his female co-workers to find the map, which they do. And it took a lot of killing to find that map. And then Jack is furious because he doesn't want to be known as like a murderer. Because here's the thing, Jack Horner doesn't want to be referred to a killer, because in the Nursery Rhyme he's a little good boy, but in this film he is not. He is a big bad guy. and then Jack Horner actually kills one of the workers by giving one of the female co-workers the hand of Midas, who actually kills one of the co-workers into gold dust. And then also there was a flashback of Jack Horner being a good little boy at one point, but somehow he literally gets showed off by Pinocchio, because Pinocchio does his very own show by saying he's a real boy, I got no strings attached, although he's still a puppet. But Pinocchio was successful more than little Jack Horner was, and Jack Horner was like, "That's impressive! I've been a boy the whole time." Smacks the pie out of his hand, and then Jack is like, "Little Jack Horner didn't have any magic, but now I'm Big Jack Horner." Yeah. Jack Horner may be big, but he is also a big bad boy. So then Puss in Boots manages to get the map, only for Kitty Softpaws to come out of that chest, because why not? Because we were having Kitty Softpaws returns, and Kitty Softpaws being voiced by Salma Hayek, and literally the two start arguing with each other in a cat fight. It wasn't until Goldilocks and the Three Bears break off into another fight at Jack Horner's Pie Factory to get the map. Puss in Boots tries to escape, although his beard does get caught up in one of the mechanisms, and then he uses a stick that Perlito gave to him, and he fights off two of the Three Bears, because I guess their weakness is a stick, I believe. I don't know, it sounds ridiculous, but you know. But with Papa Bear, he touches Papa Bear with the stick, and Papa Bear was like, "You should have done that, mate." Yep, Puss in Boots is about to meet his demise. But not really, because Papa Bear smacks Puss in Boots out of the factory to a carriage where Kitty Softpaws and Perrito are driving. And they drive out of town, and they had to get away from Jack Horner's men. So Puss uses the gold from the carriage to block off the guards, and everybody in the town grabs onto the gold, until Puss in Boots hears a whistle from the White Wolf himself, and he gives out a creepy dead eye look. Like, he points his fingers in his eyes and he does like this pointing eyes at you, but instead his eyes are clear gold. Like clear gold, like death. Like, and it is a very creepy moment out of that. So then Jack Horner assembles his men of the baker's dozen and takes a lot of fairy tale items from his shelf, stuffs it in a magic nanny bag, which is basically Mary Poppins nanny bag. So, and the items that he puts in is basically, you got a crystal ball, Merlin's magic hats, unicorn horns, because we found out that the unicorn horns actually explode into confetti. And then you got the Eat Me cookie from Alice in Wonderland. You also got the Noble Phoenix, which is basically the Phoenix from Harry Potter. A magic staff from Onward, and among other things. By the way, this is DreamWorks poking fun at Disney, because the very first Shrek film also poked fun at Disney as well. So this is basically Disney properties that DreamWorks is poking fun of. And of course, Jack Horner leaves with his baker's dozen and says this crazy quote from Wizard of Oz: "I'll get you, my kitties, and your little dog too." Basically, a quote unquote words from the Wizard of Oz, where the Wicked Witch of the West says, "I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too." You gotta get that quote. Yeah, that's the quote right there. Later on, Perrito, Puss, and Kitty Softpaws are going on an adventure to find the star, and they enter a dark forest. The trio find out that the whole dimension morphs into different landscapes depending on who wields the map, because somehow Puss and Kitty don't get along with each other pretty well. So yeah, and their dimensions are pretty hellish, to say the least, for Kitty and Puss. But the map changes into a tranquil and colorful forest for Perrito, because somehow Perrito is basically a very happy like dog. Yeah, because Perrito is a happy dog. And of course, as they transverse a path, of course they go through this forest, which basically turns out to be a forest of man-eating flowers and roses, while riding down a river. So anyway, we get a moment where Perrito smells the flowers or smells the roses. Sometimes you gotta take your time and smell the roses. Puss and Kitty Softpaws thought it was stupid, and Kitty Softpaws almost drops another swear word, but Perrito blocks it off, because it's a PG film, so they almost dropped it. So anyway, they were able to smell the roses, and ride down river. Later on, Goldilocks and the Three Bears are catching up, only for Jack Horner to knock them out with the sword of Excalibur. Jack and his baker's dozens are also fighting off the wild flowers, and it does give in some Little Shop of Horror vibes. The big giant piranha plant that says, "Feed me, Seymour, feed me, Seymour, I'm starving." That's basically what's going on. But Jack Horner brings out was supposed to be a magic locust, but it turns out it was Jiminy Cricket, because we get to see Jiminy Cricket in this film, and then Jiminy Cricket was like, "Oh, I'm not a magic locust. I'm basically your conscience. I just judge your actions." And then I find it funny that Jack Horner just says, "I really did overpack." "You sure did, because now you got a conscience to help you out." But apparently it doesn't really. So Jack Horner decides to burn down the flowers by using the Noble Phoenix as a flamethrower, and then Jiminy Cricket was like, "Oh my goodness!" By the way, Jiminy Cricket's got a bit of a Don Knotts, Jimmy Stewart impression. By the way, as time goes on, Puss and Boots are riding down the river. Puss gets his beard shaved off by Kitty, because the beard started to irritate Puss and Boots more, and then he got rid of his stick, which Perrito follows. Puss and Boots gets a little kitty blade, by the way, And then Perito gets captured by Jack Horner in the process. Goldilocks and the three bears intervenes and a fight ensues. And then Jack Horner uses his crossbow with the unicorn horns, almost kills Perito with it, but it deflects and it hits one of Jack Horner's men, and that unicorn horn explodes into confetti. And let's be honest, that is probably one of the more craziest weapons I have ever seen in that film from Jack Horner. Because as of now, Jack Horner's got a body count. He is he may be you may think he's a good boy, but no, he's a psychopath in this film. Like, he has a freaking body count. He's got a body count in that film. And of course, the fight continues until Puss in Boots interferes with one of the unicorn horns after it explodes on one of his men. He sees the white wolf again. He sees the white wolf again. His heart begins to beat, and Puss tries to, and then he knows he's gonna meet his demise. He runs off in fear, distracting Kitty and enabling Goldilocks to obtain the map. Puss in Boots reveals to Perito what he and Kitty Softpaws were up to. He left her at the altar on their wedding day after experiencing fear for the first time, and still regrets it. So Kitty overheard the conversation and reveals that she never came to the altar either, feeling like she could never compete with someone who loves himself more than her. The two manage to reclaim the map from Goldie's group, and of course they do this nice little dance for the first film, and I thought that was actually pretty cool because it literally knocked out the three bears by giving them three different bowls of porridges. Like, Baby Bear got the cold porridge, Mama Bear got the hot porridge, and then Papa Bear got the just right porridge. So that was a pretty nice reference to Goldilocks and the Three Bears story. So, but Perito gets captured, and we do get a funny moment with the Goldilocks, Three Bears, and Perito, because Perito insults all four members of the family, saying in a bunch of insults, followed by bleeping swears, because you get to hear the bleep button multiple times in this film, and it definitely deserved that PG, by the way. And Papa Bear is just saying like, I like this puppy. So Puss in Boots is trapped in the cave of lost souls after touching the map, and tells Kitty to rescue Perito. While inside the cave, Puss in Boots encounters crystals that represent his past lives, and then he meets the hooded wolf again, who, I'm just gonna say this right now. This is it. This is the moment right there. Remember when I said that the wolf was basically a bounty hunter? Well, it turns out that this wolf is actually death. Like, not metaphorically, straight up. He is the real deal. The white hooded wolf is actually death. Now, when I saw this for the first time, it took me a while to put the pieces together. But when this scene came up in the Cave of Lost Souls, it was death. It was literally death. The Grim Reaper. And I will say this: that is a spooky reveal, because it was hinted before that the wolf was actually death, but I never caught on to it until this very moment when Puss in Boots was in the cave while encountering his past lives. Death reveals that he wants to obtain Puss's last life as a retribution for failing to value the previous ones. In a fit of fear, Puss hastily runs away with the map, and an act which Kitty and Perito seen from afar. And now Death is like, run, makes it more fun to watch. Basically, Puss in Boots laughs in the face of death, but he is scared. He is scared right now because he is afraid to die. He doesn't want to die. Puss doesn't want to die. He's afraid of death. So now, later on, Later on, Goldie reveals a wish that she wants. She wants a real family, devastating the three bears, who nonetheless assures their support because I find out that the three bears actually cared for Goldilocks when they first found her sleeping in Baby Bear's bed. They really cared for her, but somehow Goldilocks wants a real human-like family. But sometimes you gotta look into yourself that maybe the three bears who cared and supported you were actually your real family. So that's kind of like something, because the three bears were actually there for Goldilocks. Were there for Goldilocks. Not only on this mission, but when they first met each other. So then later on, reaching the star, Puss is stopped by Kitty, who doesn't want Puss in Boots to wish for his lives back, and and she calls him out for it because she calls Puss in Boots a selfish kitty. Because here's the thing, because Puss in Boots went on this mission to wish for his lives back because he only has one life left, and Kitty Softballs was like, go ahead, go ahead, make your wish, just leave me out of it, because it turns out he Puss in Boots cares for his lives more than the people that he cared about. But it turns out that he tells her that death is coming for him, which is why he wants to wish for his lives back. But Jack Horner and the three bears show up again. And also, going on Jack Horner again, Jack Horner kills his baker's dozen, by the way. And he also flicked Jiminy Cricket off his shoulders because Jiminy Cricket saw everything that Jack did to his baker's dozen. And then with Jack Horner revealing that he once had a childhood, supported parents, a good work lifestyle, baking pies, useless crap like that. Yeah, that's basically what he said. And Jimmy Cricket was like, ugh. And then Jack reveals that he wants to wish too. He wants to wish for eternal power, all the power in the world. That way he can have the power for himself and nobody else can have it. This even gets Jiminy Cricket to snap. And he was like, this is horrible! Your wish is horrible! You're horrible! You're a terrible monster! And then Jack Horner was like, what took you so long, idiot? Flicks Jiminy Cricket off his shoulders. And then takes the very last member of the Baker's Dozen to the Wishing Star location. And everybody, Kitty Softpaws, Puss in Boots, Burrito, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Jack Horner, and that one Baker's Dozen woman go into what looks to be a crazy face-off that resembles The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The very ending of The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, where they all square off for a final duel. And of course, they all fight each other. One of Jack Horner's Baker's Dozen gets killed off in a star portal. Baby Bear almost meets his demise, but he's saved by Goldilocks because Goldilocks actually not only cares for Baby Bear, but also her family, three bears family. And I thought that was a very touching moment because it turns out that Goldilocks is actually, something more. Goldilocks is something more. And then Jack Horner gets sucked into the magic nanny bag, and he does come back. He does come back later on for one more fight. And then at the very moment, we see Death, who appears again, and a fierce duel erupts between both him and Puss in Boots, and it is surrounded by fire, by the fires of hell. He is ready to fight this cat. He wants to finish what he started. And of course, Death gives Puss in Boots his sword back. And he tells him to pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. Puss in Boots tears for a moment while holding the wishing star map. And then Death is like, what's the matter? Lives flashing before your eyes? Puss in Boots relents and says, no. I'm done already. So he drops the map. Kitty is surprised and sees Puss in Boots fight Death. With Puss in Boots drawing his sword, says, fear me if you dare. they both clash they both clash. And I will say this. I think this final battle between Puss in Boots and Death is obviously the best fight in this film. Like, it's literally the best fight because now Puss in Boots is facing his own fear. He is afraid to die, but no, he's not afraid. He's not afraid anymore. He's standing up for himself and fights his opponent. Like, he gets the upper hand. Puss in Boots gets the upper hand at the very end. He struggles at one point, but he literally gets the upper hand. And then Puss is like, I know I can't defeat you, but I will never stop running. Death literally stares in front of Puss in Boots, growls at him. But it turns out it's like Death was just playing with him. He was just playing with his spoon, because you do hear Death speaking in Spanish. It's like, because he's angry at himself, talking in Spanish. And by the way, in Spanish, he's saying like, "Why the hell am I playing with my food like this?" Basically, he's just playing around with Puss in Boots. He didn't finish him off. He was just playing around with him. But I mean, I guess you could say that he did try to kill Puss in Boots, but no. At the very end of the fight, he was just playing with him. So then, Death accepts his defeat, and he tells Puss in Boots to live his life. And then he also tells him to, like, we will meet again. And then Puss in Boots is like, see. And then he was gonna, like, see him later. So they both know they'll see each other again. And at the end of the fight, Death walks into that star fiery like portal and and brings in a very positive whistle vibe, knowing that, like, hey, you know what? Hey, we're done. We're done. We're done for now, but we will see each other again soon. So basically, he accepts his defeat and delivers off in a nice, very positive like whistle music. So there we go. And then Jack Horner comes out as a giant eating the Eat Me cookie from Alice in Wonderland. And of course, he almost got his wish, but Puss and Kitty uses a very special weapon and gives Jack Horner a Spanish splinter. Or should I say, Spanish splinters! Yeah, because the Spanish splinter comes back again, but this time on Jack Horner. And then it turns out Puss, Kitty, Goldilocks, and the Three Bears rip the map apart, with Jiminy Cricket and the Phoenix burning the last piece of the map, and the star dissolves with Jack getting sucked into the star, giving a thumbs down because basically it's a Terminator reference. And then his last words was like, "What did I do to deserve this? What specifically?" You know what you got, Jack. Jack got what he deserved because he became a murderer. He killed his men on his adventure. He didn't care for anybody. He only cared for himself. So yeah, Jack Horner got what he deserved. And then at the very end, everybody decides to go on their separate paths. Goldie finally accepts being a part of the bear family, while Puss reconciles with Kitty Softpaws, promising a life together. And of course, Perito joins along with them. Even Jiminy Cricket joins with the Three Bears for a while. I mean, I wonder if that's gonna last, because Jiminy Cricket's brought up business ethics. Let's talk about business ethics. Are you sure that's gonna go well, Jiminy? Because you know. So anyway, at the end of the movie, Perito, Kitty Softpaws, and Puss in Boots steal a boat from the governor and set sail to new adventures and to reunite with some old friends. And of course, we get to hear the music theme from Shrek. So basically, they're going to far, far away to meet up with old friends, which is basically Shrek and Donkey. So there is a possibility that we might actually get a fifth Shrek film. Now, yes, we might actually get a fifth Shrek film. Now, I know that film is still in development for a while, but after this film, there is a possibility we might actually get a fifth Shrek film. And of course, with Chris Meledandri, who is basically executive producer on both Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and Shrek 5, we might actually get Shrek 5, we don't know if we don't know if that film is going to be in production yet. It's still in it's still in development, but there is a possibility that we might get a fifth Shrek film. Since we got that ending scene, there is a huge possibility that a Shrek film can happen. And there you have it, folks. That is my breakdown of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I say overall, it was a fun film. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, in my opinion, wasn't the film we wished for, but it was the film we needed. Because it brought everybody back to the world of Shrek, including Puss in Boots as well. As for Puss in Boots, it was nice to see Puss in Boots again because almost we waited over a decade since the very first Puss in Boots film to greenlit a sequel for Puss in Boots, because Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish was a fun film. The animation is spectacular. It brought in some Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse vibes, particularly with the action sequences. And just to remind you, there was a lot of action in that film, most notably the fight scenes, and of course the writing was very top notch. I mean, the writing was all over the place, but it was fun. The writing was good. It really knows where to go with the story, and I love it. The voice acting in this film is very good as well. Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek as Puss in Boots and Kitty Softpaws are still good. I like the introduction of new characters like Perito the dog. He was fun in that film. Of course, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. They were definitely very good in this film. I like Florence Pugh as Goldilocks. She did a very good job voicing the character, and I hope she does more voice acting in the future, because that was one of her very first voice acting roles, and she does a very good job voicing Goldilocks. The other characters, including Big Jack Horner, being voiced by John Mulaney, he was very funny in this film. Now with Jack Horner, he's one of those like characters from the nursery rhymes you don't really remember as much growing up, but the film turned this forgettable character from a nursery rhyme to a memorable character who turns out to be somebody else, despite being this little good boy to a big giant murderer, or pie pastry chef to a crime lord. And of course you also got the Grim Reaper, Death, who basically, in my opinion, is the best villain in this film. I know some of you are probably going to be saying that Big Jack Horner was the best villain in this film, but in my opinion, the best villain in this film goes to Death himself, the Grim Reaper, the wolf, the white wolf that Puss in Boots has to face, because this character not only appeared for about 5 minutes, but his presence was felt throughout the entire film. Because remember, part of this film was Puss in Boots. He has one life left, and he wants to wish for his lives back. But no, death is in the way. Like Puss in Boots only has one life left, and he wants to avoid it. So basically, the presence of death is felt throughout this entire film. And of course, the voice actor who plays Death does a fantastic job voicing this character. He deserves a lot of credit for that. And of course, the setup for the potential Shrek 5, which I know I've already mentioned, but that ending alone really set that up. And like I said, will we get a Shrek 5? There is a high possibility after this end credits scene. And of course, will there ever be a Puss in Boots 3? I do not know, but hey, sometimes there's definitely open doors for Puss in Boots to return, and also a nice welcome return for DreamWorks to bring back something for audience to see. Well, anyway, what do you all think of this film? Did you all like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish? Did you think it was an okay film? Were you excited about this film? Let me know your thoughts about it. And thank you all for tuning in to Codo Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo, aka Codo Man. Remember to watch movies and stay positive.